Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Jack OATz to go. You either know or you don't. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the channel, and special thank you for everyone who subscribed and watching. Thank you guys for the support. I appreciate it. If this is one of your first times in or first few times, consider subscribing. I'm on my way to 3.5K by the end of November. That's the goal. Now, I'm not, like I've said in the other videos, I'm not trying to get just anyone to subscribe. Don't subscribe if you don't like the channel. There's so many other YouTubers out there, especially in the BC community, that you guys can watch and appreciate. I'm not the only one, so I'm not gonna go crazy if you don't want to subscribe. You don't like the stuff that I'm putting out. It's okay. There's a lot of them. But anyway, we got some stuff to talk about. A few of you have been asking what my thoughts were as far as what I think the Eye of the Midnight Sun members are doing in this arc, what their role is going to be. And I do have an answer for it. So someone had hit me up, and I forgot to look at the name of the person who messaged me. I'm sorry, I got to remember to do that if that ever happens again. But they had sent me a panel where Roddy, Sally, and Voltos were just killed, and Roddy's used his grimoire to bring them back to life. And Sally says something interesting, where she says now she's able to see things that she wasn't able to see before. Now, this can be interpreted in two different ways. You can have the literal and the figurative. So starting with the figurative part is that these three were literally outcast by their own race, the humans, and was accepted by Patri and Elf. And then come to find out, Patri was just using them as a means to an end for his plan. And essentially they became outcasts again. So they were outcasts 2 times over. And now this could be chalked up to gaining a new perspective. I'm like, wow, it's not just humans that are screwed up. It's elves too, I guess. So just kind of seeing the world in a new light. That'll happen when you've been double crossed. And this would be the second time for a group like these guys. And now we have to go to the literal sense, where she could actually be talking about that she is seeing things that that a normal person shouldn't or wouldn't normally see. And so some points of reference I'd like to bring up as far as that goes is that wouldn't be uncommon. Let's take a couple of movies. One movie called The Frighteners and another movie called Constantine. And Constantine is also a series, as you know. But The Frighteners, to start out, this is an old movie. I think this was like late 80s, maybe early to mid 90s. I want to say early to mid 90s. One of my favorite movies of all time. Had elements of horror and comedy, just like a really perfect balance of both. But essentially, there's this guy, I believe his name was Frank Bannister. He's like a ghost hunter or investigator, and he actually came very close to dying. He was in a car crash with his soon-to-be wife, his fiance, and she died, but it wasn't due to the car crash. It was like this Grim Reaper-like ghost that's prowling around town, who had carved a number in her forehead, which was the number of people that being had killed up to that point, and then squeezed her heart until it stopped beating. And this was just the modus operandi of this specific entity. And since that accident, he was able to see things beyond the world of the living. He actually had a ragtag team of ghosts with him. I think it was 4 of them. And he would bring them on these investigations when people would call him to investigate, their house if it was haunted, or just to get in touch with like long lost loved ones, And the point of it was just like a lot of the spirits actually move on. Like almost immediately, and they show this. They either go to heaven or hell, and they show that in real time. But there are a few exceptions when the souls will linger. So the souls that he has with him, like they're all from all different time periods. They have the disco guy, the nerdy dude from like the 90s, and then you have this. They call him the judge. He's like a cowboy from way back when, and I think it was just the three of them right there. So he would make them, make fake poltergeists so that the person would get scared and pay him more to get rid of the ghosts. So he was kind of a scam artist, but he was actually legitimate as well. But one of the things that he had to do to combat this entity that was going around killing people was come close to death. So what he did was he put his body into a freezer to make his organs go into a death-like state, almost like we talk about when we talk about the pleroma, when we talk about Juno and Asta ascending, and their bodies going like into this death-like state where they call it a mini-death in these philosophies, where your organs pretty much stop working, but they're working at like just the bare minimum to keep you barely alive. So that's what he did. That's the point of the freezer. But of course, he's working on very limited time, or else he will actually die. But through this, he's able to not only see everything go on, but he's also able to interact with the things happening in the astral realm. And just like that in Constantine, instead of a freezer, what he does, it's more ritualistic than anything. But we do see him use a tub full of water, and he just goes in it fully clothed. And he also has put his bare feet into 2 pails of water and does ritual. That's how he's able to walk around and view hell and other parts of the astral world. So another series that I'd like to bring up that is more closely related to Black Clover, where we see something like this, is Berserk. This is something that was a very subtle undertone. But we, in Berserk, all the way through the Golden Age, up until the Advent, just before, we see that the physical world is very physical. There's nothing really abnormal about anything. And then as we start getting closer to the Advent, more abnormal things start to reveal themselves. Now you do have outliers like the Apostles, like Zod, who are able to live outside of the astral realm and in the physical realm as demons. But the first, I'll say, astral being that was not an apostle that was seen before the Advent was actually Puck. And this was just a passerby moment for Guts. He barely caught a glimpse, but he, if anything, was just a little bewildered. Like, well, I don't know what I just saw, but it was weird, and something weird is on the horizon. Like, he felt it. So that was really foreshadowing of the veil thinning due to the fact that their time of death was coming. That was the point of the Advent, was the point that they were going to die there. And of course, Guts and Casca were able to escape that, and the veil completely broke after. And that was not really due in part to Guts and Casca. Kind of, yes, because the mark attracts all these beings that shouldn't be in the physical world into the physical world where they are. But also, I mean, this is not a Berserk analysis or theory video, but there's also the fact that the veil was completely broken because of the product of Griffith and Casca having this forceful intercourse. That was the whole point of that baby, if you guys did not catch that, was to bridge that gap. That gap is that baby is the foothold in the physical as well as in the astral, which is why we see it disappear and appear. And why it's around Casca. That's her child. That is also Griffith's, but he only uses it as a tool to stay where he is in the physical realm and to carry out as well. So to stay on the topic of Berserk and Black Clover, I do think that these guys are going to have this foresight ability that could have been caused by the fact that they had actually died and went through that process and were able to come back to life. And what they see is something I've been thinking about. So, to be very realistic, I don't see this advent happening for too much longer. It got slowed down. If Vonica dies by the time Rill's spell is up, like if she is not fully dead already, then and of course that means that they don't need Magicula for the advent. That still has yet to be discerned, but let's just say that they need the actual Zogratis host to keep this advent going, as opposed to just the devil that is possessing them. Then the advent is going to be slowed so much more, where it's just going to be held up by Xenon and Morris at that point. So I don't see it going beyond this next seal. So let's talk about the next seal. If we're using Crowley's Clipot, which I believe we might be actually using, then the next devils that should come out are Adremelech and Belial. Now remember, it was a bit of a shift of what I've been saying for almost a year, where I had Xenon's devil being Belial / Beelzebub. This is according to Mather's Clipot, which is different in a few ways. And it's really just a placement of Lucifuge, Astaroth, and he does not include Aishet like Crowley does. So what happens is, if we're using Crowley's Clipot, then the next devils are going to be, like I said, Belial and Adremelech. What I would like to happen in that case, and if it's not them, it's going to be Ball, but I don't... Yeah. Is it Ball on Crowley's Clipot? I'm going to have to look at it, because I know Nox's diagram is mirrored twice. And yeah. Anyway. What I would like to see, though, is something less physically broken for a power. And I've kind of talked about this maybe in another video, but definitely mention it on Twitter. Just never gain any traction. But we've seen just absolute fire, absolute ice, things that burn and freeze everything. We've seen this curse wording magic that is just absolutely broken, and it's decaying reality. And then we have gravity magic, which I believe is real magic. And then we have this absolute space magic that Xenon's devil has. I mean, these are all broken and wildly aggressive attacks attributes. What I would like to see is something more passive that is that absolute and destructive still. So I don't want to see a devil come out with just a big spirit bomb of mana and just throwing that shit around. I would rather not see that. I'd rather see something that's broken, but you have to use it in a tactful way. All right, the application is what matters. So what I'm thinking is, if we get Belial in this next gate, Belial is known for meddling in politics and making kings believe they have more power than they do. He takes advantage of pride and arrogance, and he. He's described as actually a beautiful being in lore. So what I would love to see is that he's not your typical devil with this devil aesthetic, like we see with everyone else. I'll walk you through what I'd love to see is that the second gate is expected to be opened by like Morris or whoever else is there from the Triad, and they're waiting on the Supreme Devil, and maybe they get just Adremelech, but Adremelech might fall under maybe more of a high-ranking devil, or no. I think on Crowley's Clipot, Adremelech is the one who rules over Belial. I'll have to look at it. I don't know why I didn't do it before the video. Anyway, let's just say he's below Adremelech, because I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Then Belial's the high ranking, and they focus on Adremelech because Adremelech should have a more demonic look and aspect on things, right? Where Belial can hide in plain sight. And while they may defeat Adremelech or at least ward him off for a bit, I would love to see Belial take on a more human form and be more beautiful like he is in lore, and take advantage of the masses and become a ruler in his own right. Whether that just be dwelling behind the scenes, controlling people like Augustus Kira. It'd be really interesting to see Seke have an arc where it's like, like, what the hell? Like, I was on top of the world and now I've been replaced by this new guy. And it's going to be Belial. Of course, he would probably want to change his name. But to have someone at Augustus Kira's side, let's just run with this idea, right? Manipulating him, making him believe that he can. Because remember, Augustus is really jealous of Julius and how people respect him and his power, and if he flexed his what would you call it, his monarchical power, he could potentially get rid of Julius as a second king. Julius is more of the militant king, right? So just imagine the type of damage someone in that position could do. Now, I'd like to have you guys refer to like the courtroom where Austin and Sekre are being tried, and remember that the people of the Clover Kingdom, and just in the world in general, it seems to be very ignorant, very malleable, very moldable, easy to manipulate, and they're honestly just very stupid. Because remember, Asta's trying to plead his case, like, yeah, all right, I get it. Like, there's like this devil inside me. I can't explain it. I use its powers, but I've never done anything bad. Like, people weren't trying to make sense of that. It was just, nope, we want to see blood, and that's what's right. And Donatio pretty much says that to Asta when he leans into his ear. He's saying, like, if I kill you, then they'll calm down. So these people aren't the smartest. They're just bloodthirsty. And anything different. And remember, these guys on the screen right now were different enough to be outcasts. So, of course, someone like Asta, who's physically changing into a devil, would not be accepted. So imagine if Belial comes in with what I would like to call lie magic and is able to manipulate people via his words. And what I like about this is the subtlety and the absoluteness of the subtlety. Saying something as simple as, I'm not your enemy, that's your enemy, could turn the tide of an entire battle. So imagine like Fuegolian, like, so let's go with this. Okay. Or actually, let's go with Mario Leone, because I don't want to go with a spirit user. Spirit users wouldn't be manipulated. I've done some reading. I've still got to do some more, but spirit users should be able to, talk to divine beings as well as see them as they are, according to Agrippa at least. So I don't think any of the spirit users have to worry about that. So let's go with Mario Leone. Just like a complete powerhouse, right? Where Mario Leone would be apt to believe someone like, let's say, says like, yo, this guy's bad news. Like, we got to take him down and we need your help. They go in and Mario Leone goes in for a shot. He says, I'm not your enemy. those guys are lying to you. Those are your enemies. And now Mereoleona is on the opposing side. And it's not because she chose to, but it's due to the magic influence that this Belial character had over her through saying that. So while this makes Belial absolutely powerful, for those who can see through it, it makes him very vulnerable. And the part that would make him more unstoppable is that he can control the masses and make them a shield. So he would be just very hard to reach. And so this is what I was saying with, to keep it paralleled with Berserk as well, because we know Tabata does draw some inspiration from there. Griffith kind of takes this role right now, where he is almost like the savior messiah type guy that allows humans and demons to coexist while taking out other kingdoms who don't have the best intentions for people and creating a fair life for people. So imagine a character like Griffith in Black Clover, but he's a devil like Griffith is, and people are idolizing him. This is Belial's thing, is idolizing, because when the gates of hell were open in lore, this is not the harrowing of hell, but this was after, what was, they had a meeting and it was called something. Yeah, Paradise Lost. All these devils, Satan, Moloch, Belial, Beelzebub, all of them have a meeting, and there are also some other mythos demons in that as well. But they all have a meeting, and they're talking about how, like, what's going to happen now with this, like, I believe they were talking about, like, what's happening with, like, God, this Jesus character, like, everything's going to shit, we need a plan. And Moloch is on a warpath, and Belial is described as kind of just, like, chilling, talking the talk. They kind of play him off as, like, a smooth talker, and what happens is that he ends up creating the layout of the Klippa, the Tree of Knowledge. So, and while he does that, Satan actually goes beyond into the Sitra Ara, so that's below the Thalmael, into the universal God, and embraces the powers of chaos. And Belial is also, while this is happening, he opens portals to different, really, pantheons of beings as well. So he does have this power over space, which is why I had him as Xenon's devil. So we really just have to see what's going on. But Belial is, when the gates were opened for hell, though, when the demons scattered and went into the ocean, into the sky, and everything, what Belial did was more interesting. What he did was he stayed within a statue, an idol, and he required people to idolize him, and he would help them, give them divinations, treasures, information, but of course they had to sacrifice things for him to do any of that. So it was very interesting. He's one of the only, at least goetic demons that escaped just to put himself into an object to be idolized. So I do see that happening, and when we look at, like, Augustus Kira's magic, where he uses, like, this light idol for people to literally idolize over, since light magic is rare and supposed to be very strong, he uses that to make the people realize, like, oh yeah, that's the king, when they forget because he's an idiot. To have Belial alongside someone like that, I think it would make a lot of sense. So I think this would push the overseas arc where Belial, has such a grasp over the people and their mindset and what they see as right and wrong that they have to flee. And I think more of the overseas arc is going to happen because I do still believe Yami's considered a Jotun for this series. And I've made a video way back when. I think this was more towards the beginning of the channel. This was after, coming across Broku, and he had brought up this Jotun theory, and it really stuck with me. And it's pretty much what, I kind of ran with the channel on. So in the lore, in short, the Jotun are doubled up as devils, and that's really based on intent, but they are demonic beings in some cases. So they could be going there to find answers to questions like, who are the devils in the Qliphoth? Who do we have to look out for? What are their powers? How do we stop them? And just for reference too, Yami is the only one with dark magic in here. I know we have Noct with shadow magic, but that is pretty different from what Yami's doing. But still, with the concept of Jotun being, demon-based, we did talk about Noct and Morgan being, predisposed to good and evil. I do think they are Cambions or maybe even Nephilim. A lot about them is unnatural. So I think that's where the overseas arc is going, and I think with the Eye of the Midnight Sun characters, Roddy's Baltos and Sally especially, is that they're going to see this character for who they really are, trying to alert the people that could help stop them, but end up being outnumbered and overpowered, so they are forced to flee the land entirely in search for maybe answers and also solace, a new place to live, since it's being corrupted. And I think it would be an interesting just like trifecta of of most things in the occult come in threes anyway. So they were outcast by humans, then they were outcast by elves, and then they were outcasts again, but this time they would be outcast by devils. So they would be literally outcast by almost every single being that we've come across so far. But in this time, this would put them in a more savior role, which would be very interesting because they were antagonists. Now we can kind of look at them as just like anti-heroes almost. But I think this would really complete the character arc if they come in and they're able to see things for what they truly are because they experienced death the way they did. But that's pretty much, my thoughts on it, and just kind of like some headcanon stuff to go along with it. Just to answer the questions you guys have been leaving in the comment section below and hitting me up on Twitter. So I just wanted to give my take on it. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below or on Twitter. You guys know where to find me. Again, thank you guys for the support. Help me get to 3.5k subs. Share this out. Don't sub if you don't like the material. It's cool. Go sub to like Josuke, J Cloud, Quan, Broku. Those guys are dope. So thank you guys. I really appreciate all the support, especially within the last few days. You guys have been killing the numbers. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Let me know what you guys think about the role that Sally, Roddy's, and Baltos will have in this Spade arc henceforth. And with that, you guys stay safe, stay out the way. This has been Jack OATz to go. You either know or you don't.